Michael Jordan refused to take a photo with a billionaire. What he said instead went viral. The grand ballroom of the Manhattan Royale shimmered with gold trim and high ceilings. A mix of legends, celebrities, and billionaires buzzed with chatter and drinks, all dressed to impress. The VIP charity gala was the kind of exclusive event that money alone couldn't buy into. You had to be someone either by name, legacy, or the size of your donation check. Michael Jordan moved through the room with quiet confidence. He wasn't there to pose, promote, or prove anything. He was a living icon, and he knew it. Dressed sharp, calm as ever, he gave firm nods and brief handshakes to old teammates, sponsors, and people he barely remembered. Everyone wanted a piece of him. Still, he paced himself. He wasn't there to play the fame game. Across the room, Carter Knox spotted him. The young tech billionaire, known for founding a global streaming platform by age 27, had been pacing himself all evening, waiting for the right moment. Tonight, he wore an outrageous custom tux with red Jordans, a not-so-subtle tribute. His girlfriend, Layla, leaned against the bar watching him with that familiar look, half pride, half dread. "You really gonna do this?" she asked, sipping her cocktail. Carter straightened his collar. "It's MJ. You think I'm walking out of here without a photo?" "No chance." Layla raised an eyebrow. "Maybe just talk to him. Like a person." Carter laughed. "No one remembers a conversation. A picture. That's forever." Without another word, he made his way across the floor, threading through the crowd. MJ stood alone for a moment, talking quietly with a foundation director. Carter stepped right in. "Michael." "Carter Knox," he said with a wide grin, extending his hand like they'd met before. Jordan gave him a quick glance, shook his hand firmly, then returned to his conversation. "Big fan," Carter added, not catching the brush off. "Really big. You're the reason I learned anything about drive, competition, all of it." Jordan nodded. "Appreciate that." Carter gestured to the photographer nearby. "Mind if we grab a shot real quick?" Jordan didn't even turn. "Not right now." There was a pause. Carter chuckled like it was a joke. "Come on, man. Just one. I've been waiting all night. I run one of the biggest tech companies in the world." Jordan looked him in the eye, calm and unbothered. "I said no." People nearby stopped talking. Layla stiffened across the room. The room didn't go silent, but the tension buzzed louder than the jazz trio in the corner. Carter didn't back down. "Wow. I guess success doesn't impress you, huh?" MJ tilted his head. "You really think this is about success?" Carter crossed his arms. "It's just a photo. You've taken thousands. Why not one more?" Jordan let the silence stretch a few seconds too long. "You don't get it," he finally said. "You never did." The words landed heavy. MJ turned back to the foundation director. Carter stood there, unsure whether to fight the moment or walk away. Someone nearby whispered, "Damn." Another muttered, "That was cold." Layla approached slowly, giving Carter a warning glance. "Let it go." But Carter wasn't done. "You preach inspiration, legacy, discipline, but when someone shows respect, you shut them down?" Jordan turned around fully now. The conversation behind him faded as eyes locked in. "You think respect is flashing your wallet and calling out my name like I owe you something?" MJ asked, his voice steady. "That's not respect. That's ego." Carter's jaw tensed. "This is ridiculous." "You came up here for a picture," Jordan said, "but what you really wanted was a trophy. One more thing to post, brag about, stack onto your brand. That's not about me. It's about you." Someone near the bar gasped quietly. Another guest began recording, though discreetly. The mood of the room shifted again, less gossip, more curiosity. MJ stepped forward just slightly, no longer just brushing it off. "You know how many kids I've met in my life who didn't ask for a photo? They asked for advice. For help. Some just wanted me to watch them play. I gave them time. Most of them never made it. But they were real. They were present. You want a snapshot. A shortcut to greatness you didn't sweat for. Carter's face flushed. You don't know me. No, MJ replied. But I've met 100 like you. Every week. All noise. No substance. The words cut sharper than anyone expected. Layla took Carter's hand, but he pulled it away. I don't need a lecture, he said, his voice quieter now, rattled. MJ didn't flinch. Then you shouldn't have asked the question. Silence again. Finally, Jordan glanced at the crowd that had gathered. Don't mistake being loud for being right, he said to them, and then walked off toward the side door, where a small group of high school athletes waited backstage for a private mentoring session. The room buzzed in the aftermath. Layla spoke softly to Carter. You wanted a picture. You got something more valuable. If you're smart, you'll realize that. Carter didn't reply. He stood frozen, pride wounded but something else turning inside him. The kind of silence you don't fight against, but sit with. The story would hit social media within hours. The clip of MJ calmly shutting him down, refusing the photo, would go viral by morning. But what wouldn't be in the video was what started to stir in Carter Knox's mind, the echo of being told the truth when no one else had ever dared. And MJ? He was already gone, behind the curtains, speaking to the kids who weren't asking for selfies, but for stories, guidance, and time. The real kind of legacy. The kind no billionaire could buy. By morning, clips of Michael Jordan refusing Carter Knox's photo request had racked up millions of views. The full exchange, calm, cutting, and unfiltered, was posted across every platform. Headlines twisted it every which way. MJ humiliates billionaire, Michael Jordan teaches tech bro a lesson, photo denied, legacy preserved. But none of it told the whole story. Carter stayed offline that day. His PR team called, panicked. We can spin it, they offered. Say it was taken out of context. Say it was staged. Say anything. He told them to leave it. He wasn't angry anymore. He wasn't even embarrassed. What he felt was harder to explain. Somewhere beneath the bruised ego was something unfamiliar, maybe respect, maybe shame. All he knew was that Jordan had seen right through him. Layla sat across from him at the kitchen island, scrolling through the reactions. You're trending worldwide. I know. They're not wrong. I know that too. She set her phone down. You still don't get it, do you? Carter looked up. I thought I did. I've spent years idolizing that man. I thought he'd be flattered. He wasn't flattered. He was disappointed. Carter stayed silent. Layla continued, you didn't ask him a question. You didn't even introduce yourself like you meant it. You barged in and demanded a moment. I didn't demand. You did. Because you're used to getting what you want. But MJ doesn't care who you are now. He cares who you are when no one's watching. And deep down, you know he was right. That hit. Harder than the internet backlash. Later that night, Carter sat alone in his home gym. Basketballs stacked neatly in the corner, untouched for months. A framed MJ jersey hung on the wall. He stared at it, trying to remember the last time he'd played. Really played, not for a promo video or some TikTok stunt. Played for the love of it. He couldn't. The next week passed in a blur of silence and skipped meetings. Layla left for a trip she'd planned weeks earlier, and Carter didn't ask her to stay. He needed space, not comfort. By the third day, he reached out to someone quietly. A former NBA player turned youth coach who ran a struggling rec center in Brooklyn. Carter had invested in his app years ago, barely remembered him. You still coaching? He asked. Yeah, the man replied. You still watching from the sidelines? Carter didn't respond. That weekend, Carter showed up at the center. No entourage. No designer gear. Just jeans, a plain hoodie, and nerves he hadn't felt in years. The place was nothing like his world: concrete floors, scuffed balls, faded lines on the court. But it was full of life. Kids shooting, laughing, talking trash. Coaches shouting drills. Parents watching with quiet pride. And standing at the far end, tying his sneakers, was Michael Jordan. Carter froze. MJ looked up. Saw him. Didn't smile. Didn't frown. Just gave a slow nod. Carter walked over, his voice low. I didn't expect you to be here. I was invited, MJ replied. Like you. Carter looked around. These kids don't even care who I am. That's the point, Jordan said. They care who shows up. One of the coaches called over to MJ, asking him to help with a shooting drill. He glanced at Carter. You play? Used to. Never great. Don't matter. Jordan tossed him a ball. Carter caught it awkwardly, then dribbled once. The floor echoed under his feet. Kids gathered, amused. He took a shot. Brick. Laughter. Jordan didn't laugh. Just nodded. At least you took the shot. They ran drills. For the next hour, Carter moved like a beginner. He tripped, slipped, missed. But he stayed in it. He listened. He passed. He tried. No cameras. No applause. And somewhere in that hour, something shifted. Not in the crowd. In him. Afterward, he sat on the bench, drenched in sweat, chest rising with each breath. MJ sat next to him, towel around his neck. Carter finally asked, Why'd you say what you said that night? Why go that deep? Jordan leaned back. Because you needed to hear it. I've seen what happens when no one ever tells you the truth. You get rich, surrounded by yes men, and you forget what the grind feels like. You mistake likes for respect. But real respect isn't given, it's earned. Over time. Quietly. Carter nodded slowly. I think I forgot why I ever admired you. Jordan looked at him. You never knew me. You admired the myth. The shoes, the dunks, the trophies. But I lost more than I won. I sacrificed things no photo could capture. There was a pause. You know the one kid I did take a photo with, back when I said yes too easily? Jordan asked. Carter nodded. You mentioned him that night. Jordan's voice lowered. Darnell. High schooler. Had raw talent. I talked to him for 5 minutes. Gave him the stay focused speech. Thought that was enough. Few years later, I hear he's gone. Drugs. No support. I kept the photo, but it haunts me. I thought being in a picture would inspire him. But inspiration without direction is just noise. Carter listened, this time without defense. I don't take pictures with people who want to be seen, Jordan said. I invest in people who want to grow. Carter looked down at his hands. They were shaking, not from nerves, but from something deeper. He didn't say much more. Before leaving, MJ handed him a small box. This isn't a reward, he said. It's a reminder. Inside was a pair of worn-out Jordan 1s. Not signed. Not clean. Used. Those were from a summer I trained harder than I ever had in my life, MJ said. Every step in those shoes was pain, sweat, failure. That summer changed everything. Keep them. But only if you earn your own. Carter held the shoes like they were made of glass. Jordan stood, nodded once, and walked off into the crowd of kids. That night, Carter didn't post anything. No press releases. No statements. Just silence. And somewhere in that silence, for the first time in a long time, he felt at peace. He wasn't looking for the world to see him anymore. He was finally ready to see himself. A year later, no one remembered the viral headlines. They remembered what came after. The Carter Knox Foundation had opened its fourth community basketball center. No red carpets. No influencers. Just hardwood floors, clean backboards, and kids who now had a safe place to be seen, trained, and mentored. He didn't slap his name on the walls. He didn't run ads. There was no Carter cam to capture his visits. He just showed up, week after week. It started small. One-on-one mentoring with coaches. Sitting quietly on the bleachers, watching drills. Picking up trash after closing time. He'd never done things that slow before. No shortcuts. No flashy gestures. Just time, sweat, presence. Some of the early donors didn't get it. "What's the marketing angle?" one had asked. Carter told them if they needed one, they could leave. Most did. The centers survived anyway. Not because of billionaires, but because of buy-in. Coaches, parents, teachers. Real people. Word spread differently now, offline, where it mattered. One Friday night, Carter walked into the original Brooklyn Center and paused near the entrance. Inside, a group of kids were wrapping up their final drills. He saw Malik, a 12-year-old who'd been on the edge of suspension last fall, now leading a group warm-up. Saw Jada, who used to fake injuries to avoid practice, now teaching another girl how to shoot a proper free throw. The change wasn't overnight. It came from consistency. Carter walked through the side door into the office and dropped a file on Coach Marcus's desk. "What's this?" Marcus asked. "Budget for a fifth center. Southeast D.C. A church just closed. I think we can turn the gym around." Marcus nodded. "You serious about this, huh?" "I thought I was serious about a lot of things," Carter replied. "But this feels right." They stood in silence for a beat. Then Marcus smiled. "You still can't shoot to save your life." "I'm working on it." That weekend, the Brooklyn Center held a small event, nothing fancy. Just a celebration for completing their first full year. Parents brought food. Coaches handed out progress certificates. Kids gave short speeches, some nervous, some surprisingly bold. Near the end, one of the volunteers wheeled out a small bulletin board covered in photos. Carter's eyes scanned the wall. Pictures of games, team huddles, volunteers teaching drills. And right in the center, one photo that froze him. It was him and Michael Jordan, seated on the edge of the court months ago. A candid shot. Jordan had his elbow on his knee, pointing at something. Carter was nodding, fully focused. No cameras were around that day, so someone had taken it quietly, without asking. No hashtags. No captions. Just a moment. Carter looked over and saw Layla, standing beside the drinks table, watching him. They hadn't talked for months after the gala. She left when he started disappearing into the work. Said she didn't recognize him anymore. Now she saw him again. Not the man with a mansion, but the one who came in early and left late, sweeping floors and fixing broken nets. She approached slowly. "You didn't post that photo?" she asked. He shook his head. "Didn't know it existed. It's the only one of you two out there." He turned back to it. "Then I'm glad it's here, not on a billboard." Layla smiled. "You really changed." Carter shrugged. "Maybe I just remembered who I was supposed to be." She didn't say anything at first. Just stood beside him, taking it in. "You know," she said, "I asked MJ once why he came that day. You never invited him." "I did. But I wasn't sure he'd show." "What did he say?" "He said, if he's really ready, he won't ask for a photo this time. He'll ask for a court." Carter chuckled. "And I did." "Yeah. You did." They stood together for a while. Not like they used to, rushed, glamorous, performative, but easy, grounded. Something was different now. Later that night, as the event wrapped up, a group of kids huddled around Carter. Can we take a picture? Malik asked. Carter hesitated, then smiled. Only if I get one too. He knelt down. They crowded around him. Someone snapped the photo. But it never hit the internet. It was printed, framed, and hung up in the office next to that shot of him and MJ. 2 photos. One with the man who woke him up. One with the kids he now lived for. The legacy wasn't viral anymore. It was real. And that was enough.